Welcome to the show, my friends. This is Macil Duncan, and you are listening to the Macil Duncan Show live on the 96.9 Nuga Network. Excuse me, used to be Nuga Network. My bad. It is now the Destiny Media Network. We're also on USA Heartbeat Radio, Street Level America. We are now in 32 states and Mexico, Canada. And we appreciate all that like and share the show on social media. You can catch us on Rumble, X, Locals.com, Instagram, Facebook, True Social, and many others. And so appreciate all those that like and share the show. Tell your friends about the Macil Duncan Show, Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Hope you guys are having a great day. The weekend, of course, had a little bit of some newness to it. I think a lot of folks were amazed about the heavenly declared, the glory of God, some were calling it. And this is CBN News reporting on, some of you may have noticed, what happened in the skies over the weekend. Check this out, see what you think.
It was a celestial show in the heavens that many Americans thought they would never witness firsthand. Millions across the country were treated to a green and purple glow in the night sky this past weekend. As far south as Texas in the U.S., as well as Chile, northern China, England, and northern Europe.
It is a very exciting start to the day at Lalande because something wonderful happened in the night. We saw the northern lights over Lalande.
It was all thanks to a severe geomagnetic storm on the surface of the sun that produced a rare and powerful sequence of solar flares over several days.
A rapid fire of all these CMEs, coronal mass ejections, aimed at Earth and arriving at Earth is what drove the geomagnetic field to such an agitated state.
Basically what happens is part of the sun actually lifts off the surface, right? So this plasma, the charged particles, the magnetic field that makes up the sun, part of it actually lifts off the sun and streams away into space.
The light show also caused some minor problems with the power grid, high-frequency communications, and some GPS systems, causing the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to issue a rare geomagnetic storm warning. Elon Musk said Saturday his Starlink satellite internet service was under a lot of pressure but holding up so far. An extreme geomagnetic storm in 2003 took out power in Sweden and damaged power transformers in South Africa.
They're not built to use this current, so it becomes a problem.
But this event was about enjoying the wonder of God's handiwork, the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, seen by many for the first time.
Is that the Northern Lights?
No, that's a light pole. Oh, it's kind of fun over there, though.
Dale Hurd, CBN News.
So, whether you're looking at light poles or the Northern Lights, this weekend sounds like a lot of folks got to see the amazing power of God. Now, some people, of course, don't have a belief in God like I do, but that's okay. You know, folks will come around. But interesting stuff there. So, if you happen to catch that this weekend, it was something that a lot of folks, and I told you about it Friday that was coming, and there was a concern. But it wasn't quite what a lot of folks thought. A lot of folks were predicting a global shutdown of internet. We were going to have a 10-day of darkness and those things. That did not happen. And so, again, just be wise, my friends, what you listen to and consider your sources. Well, there's a group of students that walked out of a Duke graduation ceremony. And you're not going to believe, a very popular speaker, they walked out on his primary crime. They walked out because he supports Israel. Check this out.
The unrest at college campuses across the country over the war in Gaza continued this weekend as dozens of students walked out during Duke's commencement ceremony. Roughly 30 students got up from their seats during Sunday's ceremony, some waving Palestinian flags, as comedian Jerry Seinfeld was awarded an honorary degree and was set to address the graduating class. The group of students walking out could be heard chanting "Free Palestine." They were met by a mix of boos and cheers, with other graduates chanting "Jerry" in support of the guest speaker. The protesting students held an alternate makeshift graduation in another part of the North Carolina campus. Seinfeld, who is Jewish and has 2 children attending Duke, has been outspoken about his support for Israel since Hamas's terror attack in October. In his speech, he touched upon the concept of privilege while telling students not to be shy about utilizing the fact they attended Duke.
Privilege is a word that has taken quite a beating lately. Privilege today seems to be the worst thing you can have. I would like to take a moment to defend it. Again, a lot of you are thinking, I can't believe they invited this guy. Too late. I say, use your privilege. I grew up a Jewish boy from New York. That is a privilege if you want to be a comedian.
Seinfeld has not yet commented on the walkout.
So that was my Straight Arrow News I like to play. But the others, USA Today said Duke students walk out to protest Jerry Seinfeld's commencement speech to latest grad disruption. Now, most counts only have it at 30. So when you have a graduating class of several hundred, 30 students walking out, maybe, I don't know if I would call it a grand disruption, but it was a disruption, I'm sure. And for Duke University, you know, let's be honest, Duke is high echelon. That is a lot of money to go there. One of my youth, Candace, who's now married to a worship leader, but when she went to Duke, for her, she'd already had a nursing degree. She went to get an advanced degree in a special area. I remember she walked out with almost $500,000 in debt. And, you know, that's an expensive school. So Duke students walk out of the protest, but Duke University students at Sunday's commencement, primary complaint was that Jerry Seinfeld was Jewish and he supports Jewish or Israel. Now, can I ask you something? Does that sound a little racist? I'm just asking. Now, what if someone walked out, if someone that was an African-American speaker, okay? And someone, then they're interviewed on the side, and they're said they're walking out because they don't like black people, and that would not be tolerated. Why is this tolerated? They were allowed to have a special graduation service on the other side of campus, but they were also allowed to walk in with their hat and gown, cap and gown, and then leave waving Palestinian flags, yelling unkind remarks, and then they walk across campus for their own private little party. It sounds like racism against Jewish people and Israel is accepted on these college Ivy League schools. And you've got to ask yourself why. Why in the world? Now, the other that everyone's kind of reported on, but I found an article here from Fox. And as you start looking, the one I had there was from USA Today. Fox News picked it up as well. Of course, Fox always likes to this is a good middle of the road story. But Jerry Seinfeld's wife applauds Duke crowd when drowned out anti-Israel protesters during commencement speech. You're never going to believe this. Harvard used to be a great place to go to school. Now it's Duke, said Jerry Seinfeld. And that's a good statement. Jessica Seinfeld, the wife of comedian Jerry Seinfeld, praised her husband. Amazing Duke University class of 2024 commencement speech on Instagram over the weekend after a group of anti-Israel protesters tried to interrupt him but found themselves drowned out by the rest of the audience. The comic, who is Jewish and who is the co-chair of the University Parents Committee, that's why he got invited, cha-ching, checkbook, anyway, took the stage over the weekend to deliver remarks to a crowd of over 7,000. When the small disruption broke out, that was 30 students versus 7,000. That's small. Let's be honest. That's peon. A few dozen protesters walked out of their seats chanting "Free Palestine" along the way, and of course they had their signs and their flags. Okay, the Duke audience wouldn't have it, bursting out chants of "Jerry, Jerry, Jerry," and cheering on the comedian. You can go check a lot of videos and stuff saying that. The amazing crowd at Duke University today Where Jerry gave the commencement speech and received an honorary degree, Jessica Seinfeld wrote on Instagram story, "There was a minimal interruption. A small group of protesters walked out. They were booed by the crowd, and the stadium chanted, of course, her husband's name." So it's just interesting to see how it's played, and different organizations kind of spin it different ways. Here's the Gateway Pundit spin. It says, dozens of Duke graduates and students walk out on vocal Israel supporter and Jewish comedian Jerry Seinfeld at graduation. Hundreds of Duke grads and students in the stadium stands walked out of the commencement ceremony. Now, this says hundreds of Duke graduates. We've got reports from USA Today and Fox News. It was only 30. So Gateway Pundit may need to relook at that, because if you look at the picture, it's got them walking out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, at best 20. Okay, so yeah, it wasn't hundreds, so someone needs to go check their math. Seinfeld is a staunch Israel supporter and Jewish comedian and a star of the most successful sitcom in U.S. history named after him. The Duke leftists didn't care. Dozens, if not hundreds of students stood up and walked out. Now, it wasn't hundreds, my friend. It was just about 30. So anyway, you got differences of opinion, but the videos don't lie. And if you watch the video, it was about 30. But what do you guys think about this? Why is certain racism tolerated and others completely talked about? They also want to tell you about white privilege. If you're white, you should apologize for being white, and you should be ashamed of yourself. If you're Jewish, evidently too, as well. They're very hard right now on the Jewish race in a lot of these Ivy League schools. And there's got to be an angle to this. I mean, they don't just do it. There's got to be money involved. Someone is coercing this, and as you and I know, that's just the way it goes in the collegiate ranks. Nothing's for free. And it's sad that that's the case, but there is a college student from, I think she's from Columbia, and she pretty much says, hey, this place, Columbia reputation has gone up in smoke, says a student from Columbia, over all this craziness. See what you think.
Made up of across 50 different universities has sent a letter to Congress requesting an intervention to stop what they're calling tsunami of anti-Semitism sweeping American campuses. One of these students is a Columbia University junior, Eden Yadigar, and she joins us now. Eden, thank you so much for being here. When it comes to going to college, it's very costly, as we all know. It's an investment in yourself and your future, whether you're taking loans out and plan to pay them back or your family is paying for college. When you see what's happening on college campuses, including Columbia, graduation canceled, the kind of violence and destruction that we saw over the course of the last 10 days or so, do you feel like, Eden, you made a good investment in your future?
Thanks for having me. Look, it's complicated because we Jewish students have been sounding the alarm and screaming about this for months. We've said, we hear this rhetoric, we hear it escalate, we are seeing people get physically hurt on and around campus, and the administration didn't listen to us and didn't take our claims seriously. And now Columbia has abdicated all leadership to this anti-Semitic, anti-American mob. And while it isn't the majority of Columbia University students, it is a very vocal mob that is unfortunately a minority that has now tainted Columbia's brand and reputation. And at the same time, I completely allocate responsibility to Columbia for their fecklessness. I mean, they could have nipped this in the bud on day one when these protests escalated and became violent and began disrupting university life for everyone, but they didn't.
Yeah. Wow. Now, that's a student from Columbia. She's a Jewish student, and she said they've been screaming for months, and they did nothing. Nothing. So you just got to say, what is the angle here? What does it benefit them to, one, be unkind to Jewish students? What does it benefit them to now, in the Biden administration, to cut aid at some levels to Israel, especially when it comes to weaponry and able to, help their military? But yet, in the same breath, we're constantly helping Ukraine, supposedly with weapons and with money and stuff, so they can fight Russia. This is where Biden has a tough time. He withdrew from Afghanistan and left all that equipment, over $80 million worth of equipment, for the enemy, which I'm sure is going to be used against us at some level, if not already. He's got the bad Afghan withdrawal. He's got now the Israel crisis. He's got the Ukraine disaster. And his polls keep dropping. We'll talk about that later in the show. But this is Macil Duncan, the Patriot Pastor. I'll be back after the break. Hang on and listen to our messages.
It's a new day in Chattanooga. This is WVMG Chattanooga, owned and licensed by Destiny Life Resources and operated by USA Heartbeat, the pulse of a nation, based in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm gonna take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other and build family memories we will carry with us forever. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. It's easy. Just put in your zip code to find family-friendly outdoor destinations near you. You'll also find guides to free activities, games, and amazing forest facts. Give the magic of the outdoors to your kids and reconnect with your family. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Explain something about Islam and secular progressivism that makes no sense on the surface, but makes total sense once you see what's underneath the surface. So here's the question. Why do secular progressives do things like this?
Queers for Palestine.
When many Muslims in the same region do things like this.
Gay Palestinian beheaded.
Now, Obviously, in America, secular progressives are like super pro-Islam, and on the surface, it's like, wait, why are the people who are all about women's empowerment on the same team as the religion that beats women who appear in public without burqas in certain regions? Like, secular progressives will do Queers for Palestine marches when saying Queers for Palestine is kind of like saying chickens for KFC. Guys, they're doing Queers for Palestine marches when queers in Palestine are getting tortured, hanged, and shot. So it's like, doesn't make sense, right? Wrong. Makes total sense. Because hidden under the surface, secularism and Islam are the same thing. As others have pointed out before me, the foundation of secularism is a repudiation of Christianity, and the foundation of Islam is a repudiation of Christianity. The secret common thread that puts them on the same team is not Christianity and not Christ. Two different lies, they come from the same father of lies, so they stay on the same family. Let me explain something about Islam and secular progressivism.
So does that I appreciate one of my listeners sent that to me. They've been listening to the show. It doesn't make sense, does it, that the progressives, the far left that say, hey, they embrace transgenderism, every form of sexual expression, everything you want to do with a person or an animal or an object, or a robot, all this far left. How come those folks are embracing Islam when if you go to an Islamic nation, they behead, they torture, and they beat homosexuals, transgenders, and women are not allowed to show their face. They have to wear the burqa. Why do they unite? Why are the progressive in America backing Islam against Jewish? Why is it? Because at the very root of the issue, they both hate Christianity and they hate Christians. That's the bottom line. Far, far left folks. I'm not talking a liberal. I'm talking far left progressive. They're very anti-Christian. Islam, if you really get into the root of Islam, what jihad is all about, and what their 5 pillars stand for in the Muslim faith, you'll see them and Christianity have no way to coexist. Now, I know there's those in this neutral utopia mindset that say, hey, we can all, you call him Jesus, we call him Buddha, some call him Allah, some call him your mama, some call him Scooby-Doo. No. I'm just going to be honest with you now. There are various different religions. They pray to different gods. But if you are someone that believes the Bible and you believe who in Jesus is, Jesus said it very clear, I am the way, the truth, and life. No one comes to the Father but by me. Even the late, great Elvis Presley, if you go on a tour of Graceland and you go into the back of the house, they've got this metal building, if you will, shows all his awards. When you take the tour, they'll show you that at the end of his life, Elvis, even though professed to be a Christian and had a childhood experience with Christ, in his later years was trying to find if there were other religions to get him to heaven. He was having doubts, having issues, and he was getting into mysticism, the black arts, and etc. And you've got to ask yourself, why is it people with multiple millions, especially the rich and famous, if you will, look what's happening with P. Diddy. That stuff's coming out every day now. It's like a flood of the perversion of the stuff he wanted out of other men and other people and children. He's become, some are calling it a black Epstein. He was that corrupt and that perverted. You don't know what makes people tick, but you know this. It's learned behavior. And let me say this. Someone's tried to say before, well, people are born gay. No, they're not. No, they're not. You're not born that way. What it is, because they've never isolated a gene. Show me one freaking study that they've ever truly isolated a gene that says this makes you an alcoholic. You can't pass alcoholism from generation to generation. It's a learned behavior. Gambling addiction, it's a learned behavior. If you have a problem at the blackjack tables and you are a complete gambling addict, that doesn't mean your children are going to be addicts to gambling. But see, the one thing they can do is if you go back and study folks that have gambling addictions, drug addictions, sexual addictions, the endorphins inside the brain, what it shoots off, that's the addiction issue. See, when you get addicted to something, it gives you that rush, and you get addicted to the rush, be it drugs, gambling, sex. I don't know what your thing could be. And I hate to say it, some mass murderers, when they did the test, what got some of these guys that did all these mass murderers, they got off. They got that endorphin, if you want to call it that, kick of the brain from torturing or watching someone else die with their hands. It's something that we don't understand completely, but you're not born alcoholic, you're not born gay, you're not born with these things intentionally. Now, I know someone wants to get all mad. Fine. Just try to prove me wrong. Good luck with that. Because on that particular topic, I know I'm right. U.S. campuses, though, have so much protest. The sad thing is it's getting out of hand. Some are protesting for the beheadings of their leadership. This is where that true jihad mentality comes out. Because if you are truly into Muslim and jihad, then you believe that if you kill infidels, that's people that do not believe like you. Infidels would be the non-Muslim. You somehow get bonus credit from God, if you will, and if you die in a jihad, like crash a plane into a building in the name of Allah, well, you get to go to heaven. Your account's completely wiped clean. See, a Muslim believes basically, as long as you're 51% good and 49% bad, hey, as long as you're 51, you're going to go to heaven, okay? If you just boil it down. But many of them want to go to heaven on the jihad train, because if you go to heaven and at your last moment you do something to glorify Allah or please Allah, you go in 100% clean. And if you do that, you get this celestial experience of sexual gratification. You have all these concubines and etc., much like Mormonism. Mormons believe and any woman that's a Mormon, you've got to study the deep roots of Mormonism. I can't believe any lady would want to willfully be a Mormon, because your duty in heaven is to be either a concubine or a birth agent. That's all you do. That's all you do in heaven, is you become a sex tool for your husband. If you go study Mormonism and Muslims have a very high male sexual gratification in the afterlife, and women are reduced to nothing but pleasure items. Please check it out. But the beheading, why is that becoming so popular again in this chant? This is Sky News. Now this is Australian news. This isn't America. So see what you think of this Aussie comrade here.
In the wacky world of academia, let me just quickly say congratulations to Jennifer Westacott, the Vice Chancellor of the Western Sydney University, there, for actually coming out, one of the only Vice Chancellors to come out against the anti-Semitism on these campuses, and also congratulations to Greg Craven for a great piece on that topic. But let's talk about Wackademia. Rita, blackface is back on our screens, or is it
kind
blackface?
Well, yeah, two of the teens you'll see here kicked out of their elite school in California for indulging in blackface. Well, they've just been awarded $1 million because they were just actually masks they were wearing to help with your skin tone. So if you've got acne as a teenager, it's recommended you wear these masks, and that's what that was. But overzealous bureaucrats at the school call these boys racists and expel them.
Fantastic. Well, there was another school, there was someone calling for beheading the school president. Why would that have been, James? The school president. Why would that have been, James? Calling for beheading the school president. Why would that have been, James?
Oh, well, because of hostile clashes over ending their Gaza encampment. These encampments have sprung up all over the country, the U.S. George Washington University has had some of the worst ones, by the way. They've been projecting all sorts of images about, basically proving that really what their movement is not about. It's not about, ending the war in Gaza. It is really actually about violent overthrow of the United States. This is what they're teaching in these schools, people.
And we saw that right after October 7, when some of these academics were very bold in stating, well, what did you think decolonisation was going to look like? Did you think it was going to be a fun ride? So they've been very, very explicit in saying what we saw in October 7, that violent, sadistic uprising, is part of how they see they're going to defeat the West. It's not going to be just, submission and done peacefully.
So interesting. That's the take from Sky News. That's Australia about America. They're constantly covering. If you want to go to Sky News and check it out, it's rather interesting. I love to watch news segments from other countries from time to time, and also here in America, because you tend to see more integrity in other news than you do in America. MSNBC, far left. And then you have One America News, which is far right. Then you have Newsmax and Fox News kind of in the middle, leaning right. And then you have CNN, which is just plummeting terribly. ABC, CBS News, it's kind of center left. And, you can just go down the line. But it's just very interesting. But what is interesting in the last little bit is you're finding people are finally starting to cover that these protests have some issues with it. Now, this is a local news station in Texas. Congressman induces a law to deport immigrants at campus protest. See what you think. This is, like I said, a local Dallas station. I thought you might enjoy. Check this out.
The issue is...
I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas.
I'm Rudy Koski in Austin.
And I'm Greg Grugan in Houston, and this is Texas. The issue is...
For multiple weeks, we have seen pro-Palestinian protests on college campuses. North Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne has a bill that would make it a revocable offense for anyone arrested who's not from here, arrested and charged in one of these protests. I talked to her earlier this week.
When you come to America from a foreign country, the rights that you have is fairly limited. It's not like you've got constitutional protections. When you come here and you spew American hate, the rights that you have is fairly limited. When you come to America from a foreign country, the rights that you have is fairly limited. It's America from a foreign country.
This week.
When you come to America,
I want you to listen to this. I'm replaying it on purpose. Sorry I missed a moment there, but when you come to America, she's very clear. You don't walk across the border line and become a citizen. You got to pay your dues, pay your taxes. Savvy?
From a foreign country, the rights that you have is fairly limited. It's not like you've got constitutional protections. When you come here and you spew American hate, when you spew hate against the Jewish people, when you insist and make demands that we support Hamas terrorists that have committed the worst atrocities against the Jewish people since the Holocaust, you don't deserve to stay.
Would you agree that everyone that are participating in these protests are not for Hamas? They are for a ceasefire. They are for, just ending this war and not killing innocent people on either side. Do you believe that everyone who is at a pro-Palestinian rally is somehow supporting Hamas?
I think there's a lot of people at these rallies that don't know what they're supporting. They're there because they think it's cool. They're there because organizers are telling them to go on campus and they're just doing it. Somebody described them as useful idiots. In some examples, that's true. So no.
By the way, that's the term Saul Alinsky. His Rules for Radicals. He wrote the book and he dedicated to Lucifer. And he uses the term useful idiots. Where did he get that term from? From Germany. That is what the Nazis, and that's what Hitler called people he talked into helping him, useful idiots. Okay? So she uses the term here. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama also have used the term useful idiots. 1969, Hillary Clinton wrote her graduation paper when she was graduating Wesley College there in Chicago. She wrote it on Saul Alinsky. Barack Obama in 1980s was a employed person of the Saul Alinsky Foundation as a community organizer, remember? And where did Barack Obama graduate from? Columbia University, who started the first degrees in community organizers. Who's another famous community organizer and a political, if you want to call it, activist? Stacey Abrams, who is down in Georgia, ran for governor, has yet to concede. Even though it's been 8 years, she says she still won. And if you don't doubt the power of community organizers and somehow they get into the system, if you remember when Donald Trump won 2016 and he gave his first inaugural address to the nation, who did the Democrats pick to do the very first rebuttal of Donald Trump? Stacey Abrams. Why would they pick a woman that's never won an election? She lost to Kemp in Georgia. She's never won an election. But somehow, being a community organizer and in the upper echelons of the DNC, she was given a deal. If you will just go along to get along, we'll give you some prime spots. And one was she got to be the Democratic voice in opposition to Donald Trump's very first address to the nation. My point being that this stuff, useful idiots, is not new stuff. So for her to say this, I just thought I'd give you that little insert. Savvy? Now back to the Congresswoman and her term about useful idiots.
Or telling them to go on campus and they're just doing it. Somebody described them as useful idiots. In some examples, that's true. So no, do I believe they're all like that? No. But if you are here from a foreign country and you're spewing hatred against the American people and you're spewing hatred against the Jewish people and you're supporting terrorist activities and you're committing a crime while doing it, I don't think you deserve to stay in this country, and this is what this bill promotes.
Some could call this a racist bill. I mean, some could say that, saying, why are you just targeting people who are not native to this country? I mean, there are students or U.S. citizens who are participating in this, so why just target people who are not from here?
There's one thing to say it, but there's another thing actually to commit a crime on a university campus. I don't think that's a racist behavior. You know, I think people who commit crimes, regardless of color, regardless of ethnicity, where they're from, the language that they speak, the religion that they practice, should be held accountable. So I think, you know, saying that is somehow racist is wrong. But if you are in this country, there should be a certain amount of respect that you have for American laws. And if you are already willing to completely throw that to the wind and preach American hate, hate against the Jewish people, in support of terrorist activities, you do not deserve the rights and the privileges of being in our country.
I've got to agree. If you come across this country and you haven't been here days, if not months, and your first action is, instead of saying, hey, thanks for letting me in, thank you for the food, thank you for the free lodging, thank you for the free cell phone, thank you for the free lodging, thank you for the clothing and all the other things that the U.S. tax dollars paying for, if all you can do is raise a flag from another nation and talk about hating America, then send your tail back where you came from. Savvy? Republicans introduced a bill that would send anti-Israel campus protesters to Gaza for 6 months if found guilty of illegal activity. Now, this is over at the Gateway Pundit, and I shared this with you. This dropped May 8th, but this is an interesting bill. Representative Andy Ogles, a Republican from Tennessee. Gotta like this Tennessean here. This took moxie. Ogles has introduced a new bill that would send anti-Israel, pro-Hamas campus protesters to Gaza for 6 months, and if they're found guilty of illegal activity. It's about time someone suggested this. It could be a real learning experience for some of these radical students and professional agitators. Now, some of you are saying, well, Macil, that's harsh terming, calling them radicals and professional agitators. But do you guys remember the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, said this just a few weeks ago? Check this out.
There's a movement to radicalize young people, and I'm not going to wait until it's done.
Eric Adams, who's obviously...
Eric Adams, the mayor of New York. Let's listen again.
There is a movement to radicalize young people, and I'm not going to wait until it's done.
So he goes on to say he is not going to wait to see it done. And here's the rest of his press conference. This is Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, a Democrat, mind you.
In the first place.
I saw similar indicators from the Black Lives Matters March. I saw similar indicators from the Black Lives Matters March when it was brought to my attention that there were those who came to the city to disrupt our city, and she was able, through her team, was able to conduct an investigation, and what I feared was actually materialized and actualized by those who were on the ground.
Now he's relating the current disruption on the campuses to what happened with Black Lives Matter. He goes on, and I'm going to keep playing, he calls them professional organizers, just like the Congresswoman said, and just like Andy Ogles has said, many in the upper echelon that see behind the curtain, and the mayor of New York, I think he would have a good view of what some of this is. Let's finish listening to Eric Adams, the Democrat mayor of New York, to me, opened the door to get Biden and others to start admitting this Jewish hate has got to stop.
And I know that there are those who are attempting to say, well, the majority of people may have been students. You don't have to be the majority to influence and co-op an operation. That is what this is about. And so if we want to play the word police, you could do so. You want to play the word police, you want to play the word police, you want to play the word police, you could do so. I want to play the New York City police, where we're going to protect our city from those who are attempting to do what is happening globally. There is a movement to radicalize young people. There is a movement to radicalize young people.
Listen.
There is a movement to radicalize young people.
This is a Democrat.
There is a movement to radicalize young people.
A Democrat.
There is a movement to radicalize young people. And I'm not going to wait until it's done.
Now that, my friend, took guts. That took guts. Pastor salute to Mayor Adams. Not that I agree with him on everything, but for him to call out what's going on in the college campuses and what's going on in New York, and he compared it to Black Lives Matter days when they were being professional organizers and paid by professional instigators. This was a powerful, powerful press conference. And this was over 10 days ago. And ever since Mayor Adams had this, the gumption to speak truth, you watched media and other Democrats start swaying and saying, you know, if he can do it, I can do it. 24 Democrats signed a letter to President Biden saying they are appalled at the way he is not standing with Israel in their time of need. For Democrats to break ranks is not normal, okay? They normally stick together no matter what. So you're starting to see Democrats fall away. And I'll play some more clips for you later in the show. So this is very crucial. But to start making amendments and motions on the floor, and I think it'd be great. Anyone, hey, if you got some kid that's gone off to a liberal college and is coming home spewing how much they hate America, how much they hate our flag, and how oppressed we've been and how terrible, I tell you what, let's send that kid to one of these countries that he thinks has been so wronged and say, why don't you go there for a year, my friend? We'll pay your flight. We'll even send you some money to live on. Go live amongst those people and their politics. And then try to claim your American citizenship. Look what happened to Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner, the lesbian WNBA player that hated America and would talk bad about, took a knee during the national anthem. She gets in trouble over in Russia because she had evidently some drugs or some things on her that she wasn't supposed to. She goes to jail. What does she say? I'm an American. Oh, really? All that time before, you were making fun of the national anthem. You were making fun of the Pledge of Allegiance. You were making fun of this country. But get your butt in a Russian jail, and what happens? I need help. Let's listen to the rest of Mayor Adams.
and all of a sudden acknowledge the existence of it. This is a global problem that young people are being influenced by those who are professionals at radicalizing our children. And I'm not going to allow that to happen as the mayor of the city of New York. So the men and women of the New York City Police Department, you should be proud of yourself.
Gad, I'm no fan of Eric Adams, and he made New York City a sanctuary city, so he ushered in much of this madness. He's been terrible on crime and a bunch of other stuff, but he did basically get that right. The question is, well, what are you going to do? You can say that, all right, the encampment's gone for now, but are you never going to allow it to happen again?
That's a good point. That's a Rubin report, and that's who played this thing. I'll be back after the break.
It's a new day in Chattanooga. This is WVMG Chattanooga, owned and licensed by Destiny Life Resources and operated by USA Heartbeat, the pulse of a nation, based in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
Hey, you got this. Just breathe. Hey, we're pretty good.
yeah,
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other and build family memories we will carry with us forever. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. It's easy. Just put in your zip code to find family-friendly outdoor destinations near you. You'll also find guides to free activities, games, and amazing forest facts. Give the magic of the outdoors to your kids and reconnect with your family. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
It's Macil Duncan. Welcome back to the Macil Duncan Show. And boy, I feel sorry for this guy. How would you like to come home and to be drinking your coffee and taste something unique in it? You come to find out your wife's trying to kill you. Arizona woman who poisoned Air Force husband's coffee with bleach dodges jail time. Melody Feliciano Johnson, 40, has been sentenced to 3 years probation in Arizona after pleading guilty to attempting to poison her husband. Now you gotta ask yourself, man, I guess they definitely went to divorce court on that one. But an Arizona woman admitted that she was trying to poison her Air Force husband, and she was putting bleach into his coffee. So Melody, bless your heart, she's not going to prison. I guess that would be attempted murder by bleach. Very weird. Johnson was sentenced to a probation that she's going to have mandatory mental health treatment that goes into effect. But how would you like to be in the Air Force? You come home on leave and your wife's fixing your coffee, and all of a sudden you see some bleach over there next to the coffee pot. You just might take note of that, my friends. But I not say that to laugh, but I say that's a sad thing. But I found this just one of those articles you go, wow, can you believe this? We talked earlier, Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian, was giving the commencement address at Duke this Sunday and had 30 students walk out waving Palestinian flags, and they were upset because he's Jewish and he also is a supporter of Israel. And can you believe that? Where have we gone in a country when we, and it's like it was encouraged. You had a private celebration for these students and a graduation on Duke campus. Why was that allowed? Why? Now, Duke, I understand you're prestigious. You guys are up there in the upper Ivy League. And Jerry Seinfeld even said, he goes, Harvard and Columbia University move over. Duke is rising. And that's the case. But then if that's the case, then why would you allow anti-Semitic kids to be rewarded with a private ceremony? They were allowed to wear their cap and gown, march in, and you can't tell me they didn't know this was coming, because they had faculty members that evidently walked out with them. So this is I don't think that's acceptable behavior at all. And I believe at some point someone's going to have to put a squash. But USA Today, Fox News, the Gateway Pundit, so many others I shared with you, we're dealing with that. And it's rather disappointing. Very, very disappointing. But Jerry Seinfeld, from what I can tell, did a good job. And one thing he did say was you should embrace your privilege raising. He goes, not in a negative way, but we all have privileges in our life, and you should learn to use them to your advantage. So he went against the grain, okay? And I thought that was very interesting. So kudos to Jerry Seinfeld. I'm sure he's not used to doing that kind of thing. But he also came out, he was the vice chair of the parent committee at Duke because he has 2 kids there. So, I hate to say it, but money talks. And so he probably made some big money donations. Controversial Wisconsin clerk admits to violating election law and claims she doesn't understand it. Now, this is interesting because this lady has been caught before, and she claims she wasn't violating any law, she wasn't doing anything wrong, and evidently she admitted that she didn't understand the law now is why, but she was a part of helping throw elections there in Wisconsin. Green Bay law bending elections chief is at it again. But this time, city clerk Celestin Jeffries admits she didn't understand the election law she was breaking. In response, in a complaint filed by the Public Interest Legal Foundation on behalf of 3 Green Bay citizens, Jeffrey concedes that she was not been strictly adhering to the authority and the Wisconsin statutes. Pardon me. But the failure to do was inadvertent and due to lack of awareness of the statutory requirements. In short, the much troubled clerk was ignorant, not willfully, according to the legal response. It's more of the same from Jeffries, the former chief of staff for Green Bay's far-left mayor in a city that made national news during the Zuckerberg scandal of 2020 and turned punitive when its bumbling clerk previously twisted state election law and evidently allowed many illegal ballots to be counted in the 2020 election. Now, I know a lot of folks are saying, Mason, why do you bring up the election? It's a controversy topic. Some people are not happy with the election being discussed. There's still some concerns about it, and rightfully so. But check out this. Most Americans are concerned with the upcoming election because they believe that the media on election night tries to skew the coverage. Let you listen to this little blip, and we'll talk about it.
For the media, Election Day is their Super Bowl. News outlets often plan for it months, even years in advance. It's a critical night relaying results with the nation watching. But a new poll finds most Americans don't trust the media to do their job right on their biggest night of the year. A new Associated Press poll shows 53% of Americans are extremely or very concerned that news organizations will report misinformation or inaccurate results during the election. 30% are somewhat concerned. Nearly half of Americans also believe news outlets won't verify or fact-check information before airing it. 44% believe the news will be biased in how they announce results on November 5th. Only 1 in 10 say they have a great deal of confidence in the media come election night. It's not only the media's election coverage Americans are skeptical of. As a whole, Americans' trust in the news is at a historic low. 32% of Americans say they have confidence in the media. The only other time in history levels were so low was during the presidential election of 2016. While most Americans say they doubt they'll hear honest reporting on election night, interest in even tuning in is also down. According to an NBC poll, Americans who say they have a high interest in the 2024 election is at a 20-year low. 1/3 of adults under the age of 30 are following the presidential race, while 2/3 of older adults say they are. At SAN, we understand Americans' burnout on traditional media. We tell the news a little differently. There are known biases in your traditional networks. Fox leans right, CNN leans left. We don't try to hide media bias. We highlight it.
And that's what makes many folks kind of like this straight arrow news. And I use some of their clips now. Just between us, I do believe they lean a little bit to the left, but that's okay. I can handle it if you just lean. But when you're completely left, I can't go there. That's just me. But with the election coming around the corner, does anyone have an advantage? Is there anything breaking? And I think that's the thing that a lot of folks are interested in. There's a big break in, I guess, the New Jersey rally that Trump. Let me find that clip for you guys. A lot of folks were shocked at how big this was, and let me see if I can find it. Well, first let me play this for you. This is Biden. He's caught on tape. He's being interviewed, and he admits he calls people crossing the border Democratic voters. See if you guys can pick up on this. This is a radio interview with your president, Joe Biden. Biden refers to mass illegal immigrants as an influx of Hispanic voters. His words.
It's a little bit like back in the 1840s when the great exodus from Ireland because of the famine and the way Irish Catholics are treated. We said, no, we don't need any more of those folks. There was a large influx. There's even a bigger influx now in terms of Hispanic voters. There's even a bigger influx now in terms of Hispanic voters. There's even a bigger influx now in terms of Hispanic voters. There's even a bigger influx now in terms of Hispanic voters or Hispanic citizens who want to become citizens.
So he called them first Hispanic voters, and he said, excuse me, Hispanic citizens. He goes, those wanting to be citizens. So there's no doubt the open border, it's part of a strategy. They're trying to take the election. I think a lot of folks now see it more than ever. But the American people are not being fooled. Now, in New Jersey, the largest crowd Donald Trump ever had is now over 100,000 that showed up for this outdoor rally his largest outdoor rally, pretty much outside of January 6th when he had well at 1 million in D.C.
I think we can say this is the biggest crowd in New Jersey political history. USA! USA! There's so many people here. Man!
Trump rallies mega crowd, approximately 100,000 in Jersey Shore. 100,000.
Yeah, big time.
Big time. We'll talk about that later in the show. We're about to go to a break. I want to remind you of my book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith That Can Overcome. Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith That Can Overcome. You can get the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Lifeway, Thrifty Books, wherever you get your online material. Check out my book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith. We'll be back after the break. This is Macil Duncan and the Macil Duncan Radio Show. I'll be back.
It's a new day in Chattanooga. This is WVMG Chattanooga, owned and licensed by Destiny Life Resources and operated by USA Heartbeat, the pulse of a nation, based in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other and build family memories we will carry with us forever. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. It's easy. Just put in your zip code to find family-friendly outdoor destinations near you. You'll also find guides to free activities, games, and amazing forest facts. Give the magic of the outdoors to your kids and reconnect with your family. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean, and there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the show, my friend. This is Macil Duncan, and this is the Macil Duncan Show on 96.9 FM here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Destiny Media Radio, and also we've got USA Heartbeat and Street Level America taking my show now 32 states, Mexico and Canada, and multiple other countries as well. Thank you for liking and sharing the show. Kansas governor vetoes bill to grant child support for fetuses. This is interesting. See what you think. The Kansas governor, Laura Kelly, a Democrat, has vetoed legislation that would have extended child support to fetuses. Now think about this. If you get pregnant before the child's born, you could have got child support. But the loophole would have been admitting that the fetus was a life form, and that's where the Democrats could not come around because it would defeat their other views and vices here. The legislation was supported by an anti-abortion group who hope to grant more rights to unborn babies. Republicans who supported the bill argued that they were working to help mothers cover the costs associated with pregnancy and delivery. And you think about this, if this bill had passed, you got a lot of single moms that are out there, and they're pregnant, carrying a child, and they don't have the means. If this would have passed, it would have made fathers more responsible, and would pay for the birthing expenses, the doctors, etc. And however, Kelly claimed that the bill was a blatant attempt to extreme politicians in the legislature to take more control over women and their families. Personal, private medical decisions. Now think about that. Forcing the father to help pay for a lady that's pregnant, somehow that's bad. Again, this is the governor. This is her reason for vetoing. Okay? A blatant attempt by extreme politicians. It's extreme to ask a father to help pay a mother's way in birthing a child. That's extreme in the legislature to take more control over women and their families' personal, private medical decisions. Interesting, is it not? So I think the governor there has blown it, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the future. Well, shockaroo, that's my new term you guys have loved. I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now. Shockaroo, San Francisco woman convicted of shoplifting. Now check this out. She was convicted after she stole over 60,000 items, over 120 visits to Target. Now these big box chains are fighting back because you remember back when it was told, oh, it's okay as long as you don't take more than $1,000 worth. Do you remember that? And what's happened? Walmart has pulled 400 stores, primarily from big cities and blue states. 400 Walmart stores have shut down. Over 300 Target stores have done the same. They're moving out of the big cities, and they're moving out of, they don't want to say it, but blue states. Because the blue states won't enforce laws. And their excuse is, well, they have insurance. Do you remember all that malarkey on the news and these radical students justifying how they could go in and just take what they wanted? Okay, so it would be what could be described as a modern day miracle. A woman in San Francisco has actually been convicted of shoplifting. They're saying in San Francisco that's a modern day miracle. Can you believe that's how much they get away with in these lip-locked liberal areas? No wonder people are leaving those cities. In a press release on Friday, the San Francisco Attorney's Office confirmed that Aza Graves, 43, has been found guilty of 1 felony and 53 misdemeanors following her shoplifting bonanza. That's what the media put in there. The statement read this way. Buckle your seatbelt. San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins announced today that her office secured a conviction of Aza Graves, 43, a San Francisco after the trial for repeated theft from retailers. Mrs. Graves was convicted on 1 felony count of grand theft in violation, gave the number, and 52 misdemeanor counts of petty theft, in relation to a series of retail thefts, according to Target Stone Gallery in San Francisco, and she was also convicted of one count of misdemeanor petty theft in retaliation to the theft that occurred in Abercrombie and Fitch, also in San Francisco. In this case, people have alleged that Mrs. Graves has entered Target located at the Stonewall Galleria on dozens of occasions between the dates of October 3rd, 2020 and November 16th, which is my birthday, 2021, and repeatedly stole merchandise with a total value in excess of $60,000. Mrs. Graves would enter a Target and then immediately proceed to select merchandise from the shelves. She would then proceed to the self-checkout counter where she would scan each item, insert a nominal amount such as a single coin or a bill, and then exit the store. She was pretending she was paying for it, but not giving the full amount, but by putting $1 or $2 in. With that said, through the combined efforts of the San Francisco District Attorney Investigative Bureau and the San Francisco Department Burglar Unit, she was followed on a couple of occasions and surveilled after leaving Target with unpaid merchandise. She was observed selling her stolen goods at UN Plaza to sellers of stolen property. So she was going in, taking items, and then reselling. She subsequently began to sell her stolen goods to anyone passing by. So, pardon me, District Attorney Brooke Jenkins celebrated the conviction, accusing the woman of egregious thefts that have cost the local community. They're calling this a miracle to happen in San Francisco. Shockaroo, I got to say. Dr. Peter McCullough reveals doctors were being bribed to push vax beyond the headlines. This is breaking news, and some of you may be shocked or may not. But during the vaccine rollout, all who were skeptical of the vaccine sensed something was awry. Despite catching COVID and having natural immunity, as such was the case for previous viruses, the vaccine was still relentlessly pushed by media figures, public programs, and mainstream media. Now, Dr. Peter McCullough has uncovered groundbreaking information about doctors' true intentions being pushed with the COVID vaccine. So how much did it cost to buy off the medical establishment? Elijah Schaefer goes into all that and more in a special report. You can go to the, if you want to watch it, it's about 30 minutes. It's on Gateway Pundit. The reason I bring that up is because when it all broke out, the COVID mess, you've heard me say this before, but I went to my doctor and I said, Doc, because he's out in the lobby, the ladies were pimping it, man. Hey, you got to have a shot. Have you had your shot? Have you had your shot? And I don't like vaccines. I'm not one that, I don't get shots even prior to this craziness. So I go ask my doc. I said, Doc, we're in the back room. I said, do I need this? And he looked around as if someone's in the room. He goes, nah, you really don't. I said, then why y'all pushing it? He goes, well, here's the deal. There's going to be a first shot, and then there'll be a second. And then there's going to be 3 boosters. If we go along and push the first 2 shots, we private doctors will make a lot of money on the boosters. I said, so Doc, you're telling me we don't need the first shot, second, or the 3 boosters? I said, Doc, what about your Hippocratic oath, pal? This is a scam. And he put his head down. He goes, well, I got a family to feed. I said, everyone's got a family to feed, but you don't do it by scams, Doc. I've known you for 10 years. I've never known you to do something like this. He put his head down and said, see you later, preacher. About 3 months later, I get a letter. He's announcing to all of his patients that he is stepping down from medicine. He can no longer go along with current situations, I think is how he put it. And he is leaving private practice and hopes will stay on, and he announced the other doctors that took over the practice. Now, that's a fact, Jack. And any of you doctors out there that willfully participated in this sham, shame on you. Putting people in situations or injecting people with things they didn't need, and all that remdesivir you guys shot up, if you're not there in 24 hours, you didn't, that was worthless. But because you got government clicks and kickbacks, shame on you guys. There'll be a day. There'll be a day. Anyone that did this stuff for just pure money and personal gain, there'll be a day. May not be in my lifetime, but I believe there'll be some kind of truth bomb. It's already starting to hit. If you want to go watch this bombshell report, Dr. Peter McCullough reveals why doctors were bribing and pushing the vax. And remember, they weren't even calling it the vax back then. Back in the day, they were calling it the jab. Do you remember John Legend and all these Hollywood people were saying, take the jab? Why? Because it had not been approved by the FDA to be called a legal vaccine. But the government and everyone pushed it on us. 3 things it accomplished. 1, it got everyone in great fear. It shut down the greatest economy we had going, which would have got Trump an easy re-election. And the 3rd thing it did, it allowed for illegal voting. Whether you like it or not, the ballot voting scam that we're finding out more and more evidence is coming out. The people were dropping off fraudulent ballots. Now, if you guys don't remember the security footage there in Atlanta when they called in a fake pipe leak and they evacuated the building, but the 2 ladies, the mother-daughter, kept shooting the extra ballots. They had the suitcases underneath the desk. Does that not strike anybody as illegal? Why aren't those 2 girls in jail? This has nothing to do with Democrat, Republican. This has something. And in the middle of the night, they stopped counting the votes, saying that computers froze, and all of a sudden it changed. One guy was winning, one guy was losing, and it completely flipped votes. Nobody saw that as irregular? Come on. No wonder most Americans don't believe the voting. And as I played this for you just a minute ago, I'll just play the very beginning again. Americans see the voting coming up as like a Super Bowl event.
For the media, Election Day is their Super Bowl.
And it is. They treat the election day like a Super Bowl, and that's what they live off of. And but we're finding out Donald Trump had a huge turnout in New Jersey. Check out some of this reporting.
He's a popular man.
And the Biden price hikes are continuing to drain over $1,000 from the typical New Jersey family budget every single month. So it's $1,000. That's $12,000 for a family.
And Biden went on an interview trying to say, oh, no, there's not inflation. And he actually lied and got caught. Yesterday.
No president's had the run we've had in terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation. It was 9% when I came to office. 9%.
He's saying inflation was 9% when he took office. That's a lie, Joe.
9%.
Biden inflation was 9% when he came into office. No, it was 1.4. He lied.
It was 9% when I came to office.
You lie! Stop lying!
And that's true. And Trump talks about this in his speech in New Jersey. Over 100,000 showed up.
Hot dogs. Let's talk about hot dogs. I just had one, actually. I just had one. It was very good. I hope it was made here. I don't know. So the price of hot dogs up 22%. Chicken's up 32%. Hamburgers are up 37%. That's why I had the hot dog. It went up the least. Soda's up 30%. Eggs are up 50%. Gasoline's up 50%. Bacon is up 79%. Bacon. That's why I don't have bacon anymore. It's too expensive. Not one thing is cheaper. There's not one thing anywhere. There's not one item that's cheaper.
And people are spending more on food and groceries than they have at any time really in the past 30 years. I mean,
That's a real day-to-day pain that people feel.
It really is, and it's real. But the fact is that if you take a look at what the people have, they have the money to spend.
So he said the people had the money to spend. That was Biden. But one thing Trump said, you got to admit, not one thing is cheaper. Not one thing. Everything has gone up. That's why Trump was celebrated this weekend when he went to New Jersey. Trump blasts Biden as total moron before crowd of 100,000 at New Jersey rally. Whole world is laughing at him. And it went on to say it was the largest outdoor Trump rally next to January 6th when he broke 1 million. So you've got to ask yourself, why are Democrats so panicky? And why are some of them leaving the party? And I think it's interesting. Let me give you 2 clips to help explain. One, this is Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat and also former Democratic presidential candidate. And to me, I don't understand why Biden, if he had picked her as his VP and not Kamala Harris, she has so much more creds, much more likability, better track record. It just doesn't make sense. But anyway, here is Tulsi Gabbard, why she left the Democratic Party.
Great to have Tulsi Gabbard here. Of course, she is a 4-term Democratic congressperson from Hawaii. Now she's here to talk about her new book. It's called For Love of Country, Leave the Democrat Party Behind.
Today, I want to share something with you that has been on my mind and has been troubling me for quite some time and has now compelled me to take action. I love our country. Our God-given rights of freedom, life, and liberty that are enshrined in our Constitution and Bill of Rights are what inspires me. I took an oath dedicating my life to supporting and defending those freedoms, both in uniform and in public office.
Please welcome Tulsi Gabbard.
I was drawn to the ideals of a big tent, inclusive Democratic Party that stood up for working men and women, that stood up for the little guy.
My fellow Democrats.
I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that's now under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers driven by cowardly wokeness, elitist cabal of warmongers, control of an elitist cabal of warmongers, driven by cowardly wokeness, who divide us by racializing every issue and stoking anti-white racism.
The problem with white people.
Who actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms enshrined in our Constitution, who demonize the police, who protect criminals at the expense of law-abiding Americans, who believe in open borders, who weaponize the national security state to go after their political opponents, and who are hostile to people of faith.
All men and women created by go, you know the thing.
Today's Democratic Party is anti-woman.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
I can't. And above all, are dragging us ever closer to nuclear war. Today, I'm calling on my fellow common sense, independent-minded Democrats. Join me in leaving the Democratic Party.
And that's Tulsi Gabbard's new book, For Loving Country, Tulsi Gabbard. But interesting enough, she was dubbed as, before AOC, she was the future of the Democratic Party. If you guys remember, she was a congresswoman from Hawaii, serving still in our Army, our military, I should say. She's an officer, and she's a patriot. And when Bernie Sanders was winning, she got real upset when Hillary Clinton stole the nomination, according to her. She was vice president of the Democratic Party, so she knew things. And if you remember, Seth Rich was evidently taking information and was shot in the back. They claimed it was a robbery, but his watch, his wallet, his money, nothing was stolen. He was shot in the back because he evidently had inside information. It was at that same time Tulsi Gabbard walked away. She gave up her vice president status in the Democratic platform, and she also gave up her superdelegate vote. Now, you may say, what's that? Go research that. When the Democrats meet for their upcoming meeting, everyone across the country, you get to vote in the primaries. But if you accidentally pick the wrong person, like most Democrats were picking Bernie Sanders back in 2016, well, then the superdelegates, when they vote, their vote counts 10 times of the others, and they can override. There's 250, I believe, superdelegates. When Tulsi Gabbard, now think about this rising star, she was vice president of the party. She was a superdelegate. She had a vote. That's precious. That out of the top 250 Democrats, that's pretty big time. And she spoke out against Hillary Clinton and still breathing. You got to respect that. And on top of all that, she stepped down. She gave up superdelegate. When Donald Trump did win, he invited everyone in Congress and Senate to come meet with him privately one-on-one in Trump Towers. He would like to know how he could work with you. Do you know the only Democrat that went to Trump Towers and met with Donald Trump? Tulsi Gabbard. She said, I want to see how I can help make this a smooth transition. And Obama and the Democrats got furious with her. Well, she'd already stepped down as VP. She already felt they stole it from Bernie Sanders. I think at that point in time, she realized she was on borrowed time. But the other thing about Tulsi Gabbard I think is interesting is she ran this in 2020 to be the Democrat presidential nominee. I think she was trying to give one more shot to her party. Now, I say that all to tell you that, not that I'm thinking that Tulsi Gabbard is this great conservative. I'm not saying that. If anything, she's a moderate. She used to be far-leaning progressive. She's come to the middle. But my point about saying is, you know, not everyone that disagrees with us on certain issue makes them total bad people. Tulsi Gabbard is an example of someone that loves her country, talks about loving her Constitution, individual rights, etc. But here's the other clip. Why? This is MSNBC, mind you, and they were furious at this guy. He explains why Biden is losing in the polls and will probably face being defeated greatly in his reelection attempt if he's not replaced at the Democratic convention. But this is true stuff. This is fact, Jack. That's how much time we got. Yeah, I got time before the break.
For the first time in our nation's history, a 30-year-old man or woman isn't doing as well as his or her parents were at 30. That is.
Did you hear that? For the first time in U.S. history, kids are not doing as well as their parents. Let's listen again.
A 30-year-old man or woman isn't doing it for the first time in our nation's history. For the first time in our nation's history, for the first time in our nation's history, a 30-year-old man or woman isn't doing as well as his or her parents were at 30. That is the social compact breaking down. People aged 30 to 34, 60% of them in 1990 had one child. Now it's 27%. People are opting out of America. They're not optimistic about it. They're not having kids. Young people aren't having sex. They're not meeting. They're not mating. The pool of emotionally and economically viable men shrinks every day, which lessens household formation. So we have a real issue. Young people are enraged. So it turns every cut, every movement into an opportunistic infection because, quite frankly, they are just pissed off. They look up, they see wealth, exceptional wealth across my generation and people in certain industries, and they are really struggling. Their purchasing power is going down, and the incumbents create artificial scarcity on campus. We take pride in rejecting 90% of our applicants, so the incumbents who already have a degree see their degree go up in value. We get very concerned with housing and traffic once we own a housing. Housing permits are sequestered from young people. Housing prices have gone from $290 to $420 in the last 4 years. So a young person, a house, stocks that I don't own skyrocket in value. Let's have COVID relief and flush the markets and take assets way up, because if 1 million people dying would be bad, it would be tragic if I got less wealthy. And we're doing it on their credit card. Young people have every reason to be enraged, and every issue they see, they look up, they get angry, and they see someone doing better than them, and then every day it is speedballed in their face that they are failing, that they are not doing as well as everyone around them. We have lost the script. Our kids are more anxious, they're more depressed, they're more obese, they're more addicted, and we have made a purposeful decision to let this happen by ensuring the people around this table stay wealthy at the cost of young people. They're more obese, they're more addicted, and we have made a purposeful decision to We have made a purposeful decision to let this happen by ensuring the people around this table stay wealthy at the cost of young people.
Powerful. Powerful. And, of course, I love this thing about Joe Biden.
I've done some dumb things, and I'll do dumb things again. Some dumb things, and I'll do dumb things again.
Yes, you will, sir. Well, what's going on? I can't give you the whole answer, and I've got a minute till the break. But I can tell you this. When you have a guy on MSNBC, Joe Biden was confronted and called a liar in his interview this weekend about the economy. People in the left are finally waking up and saying, hey, this ain't all roses I'm smelling. This is a lot of minutia bullcrap, and people aren't buying it anymore. They're pushing back. The Budweising pushback that catapulted into a national movement against Target and so many other things. I think it's America saying I'm heading towards common senseville, and I'm tired of being led by the nose. They don't trust media. 62% of Americans say they don't trust the mainstream media on anything. 62%. That's the biggest in all time. We're going to go to a break right now. This is Macil Duncan on the Macil Duncan Show. I'll be right back after the break.
It's a new day in Chattanooga. This is WVMG Chattanooga, owned and licensed by Destiny Life Resources and operated by USA Heartbeat, the pulse of a nation, based in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other and build family memories we will carry with us forever. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. It's easy. Just put in your zip code to find family-friendly outdoor destinations near you. You'll also find guides to free activities, games, and amazing forest facts. Give the magic of the outdoors to your kids and reconnect with your family. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
It's still only the first inning in the 2024 presidential race, but with Donald Trump currently ahead in the polls, we thought it would be interesting to explore what voters expect if he wins. They're weighing in on your point. What would a second Trump presidency look like?
It would be a nightmare.
Indescribable. A disaster.
Destruction to America.
Great. Great.
I don't even want to think about it.
It would be a revenge story.
I can't think about it. I would be really scared again. And it's been nice living without that fear for the last 4 years.
Now, that's what they want you to think. That is the Lip Lock Global News, supposedly, hearing what the people say, going down in New York. And but that's interesting. But if you look in the background, they look like they were definitely selected people pulled to the side. Unlike in this report by Fox there in New York, when Trump went to a bodega after one of his days in court.
Now to day 2 of Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial. The big headline, 7 jurors have now been selected. And after the proceedings were done for the day, the former president made a campaign stop here in Manhattan.
About what he thinks about the 7 jurors who have been seated so far. English teacher, an oncology nurse, and 2 lawyers. Trump answering my question about the jurors sworn in so far.
How do you feel about the 7 jurors that were selected today?
I'll let you know in about 2.
Crystal clear. Trump plans to campaign in the city while he is here for his trial. On Tuesday, he used a Harlem bodega as a backdrop to slam Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg for being what he calls soft on crimes that matter. 2 years ago, Bragg charged a bodega clerk here with murder and sent him to Rikers after he killed a man who attacked him behind the counter. The case grabbed national headlines, and within days, Bragg dropped the charges. And also tonight, DA Bragg's office issued this statement just a little while ago, saying in part, quote, this matter was resolved nearly 2 years ago, and the charges were dismissed after a thorough investigation.
Okay, Mr. Bragg, but how about this stuff with Stormy Daniels that happened 7 years ago? And it was an agreement. So if you don't like things being brought up from past history, maybe you should practice what you preach, sir. But people in New York, I don't know if you heard them chanting, they were chanting USA 4 more years. And Donald Trump has got a thing going right now in New York and the New Jersey area. It's got some folks concerned. But you've got even the governor of New York sounding a little nervous. Check out this interview.
New York, New York.
Why is it that all of my friends say don't go on the subway, or I go into a CVS store and the toothpaste is behind plastic? So thank you. It's not just numbers on the page. It's psychologically, do New Yorkers feel safe?
That is exactly what we're trying to fight here. I can show you all the statistics in the world that say you should feel safe because the numbers are better.
You should feel safe because the numbers are better.
Oh, really?
6th woman sucker punched in a broad daylight in Manhattan in the New York Journal. Attacks in New York Transit jump a massive 50% as subway murders surge. New York Post.
I want to change the psychology around crime in New York City because we are the safest big city in America. It is safe, but I'm going to make sure people feel safe.
Currently in New York.
Actor Steve Buscemi is recovering after an unprovoked assault in Kips Bay. Police say the 66-year-old Brooklyn native was walking at 27th Street and 3rd Avenue Wednesday afternoon when he was randomly punched.
It is safe.
Buscemi was taken to a hospital for bruising, swelling, and bleeding to his left eye. The actor's publicist says he is okay and appreciates everyone's well wishes. His attacker has not yet been caught.
Not so cool now, are you? But I'm going to make sure people feel safe.
I'm out of here.
He had it coming.
We have a brand. New York has a brand.
So I think a lot of folks are listening to the governor of New York and some and saying this is just not true. Now, the mayor of New York is the only one, I think, in the Democratic Party making a lot of sense right now. And I've got to give him kudos for that, because that took a lot of guts on what he's saying and how he has stepped out of the I guess the backdrop of so many others. Let's check out some other things that's going on around the country here. Let's go here. Whew. I don't know about you guys, but Caitlin Clark is tearing up the WNBA, and the haters still trying to hate, but the love is out there. She keeps setting records, and I'm amazed at how much, and several of them that said negative things at the beginning are starting to come around, because they're seeing all boats rise when they just, go along and say, hey, don't beat her up, just let her play ball. And but the two things about Caitlin Clark, one, she's straight. She's not a lesbian. Okay, let's be honest. They don't like that. And second, she's white. They've got a problem with those two things. That she's straight and she's white. And she's good. She's very, very good. So we'll keep an eye on Caitlin Clark and her success. Federal judge tosses the Biden administration's effort to stop a Meetzer censorship lawsuit. Now, this is interesting. For once, Biden has a legal jeopardy. A lawsuit that claims the State Department unlawfully censored enterprises that target the American press, favoring left-leaning media outlets over conservative news sites. Well, is that a shockaroo to anybody? It's moving ahead, and the federal judge rejected Biden's administration attempt to dismiss the case. Texas attorney I like, Ken Paxton, and I would love if Donald Trump wins in 2024, if he made Ken Paxton the attorney general for America. You talking about cleaning up Dodge, Ken Paxton would do great. Well, the Daily Wire and the Federalist filed a joint lawsuit against the Biden administration's State Department in December over its alleged funding of technologies and essentially work to blacklist conservative media outlets. The complaint argued that the State Department uses its Global Engagement Center to finance and develop and promote left-wing media monitoring organizations, including NewsGuard and the UK-based Global Disinformation Index, in one of the most egregious government operations to censor the American press in the history of our nation. So on Tuesday, the U.S. District Judge Jeremy Kernodle in Tyler, Texas, ruled that the plaintiffs had provided enough information to show they had standing to challenge the State Department's alleged actions. So that was a big win for conservatives when a federal judge steps in and says, hey, not so fast, my friend. You guys are being very prejudiced towards conservative media outlets. And going into a presidential election, you know that was a huge win for conservative news bases. And so thank you, Judge, there in Texas that took that bold stand. Because this day and time, it's hard to find them. It's hard to find them. The left-leaners are so much more emboldened now. Trump is leading in 5 of 6 swing states. I don't know if you're aware of this. And a lot of folks are still, let's not count our chickens till they're hatched. I know that. But the Daily Wire put this out this morning. Trump is leading 5 of 6 swing states. New York, of course, Pennsylvania Inquirer and Siena College polls have all this, the New York Times, I should say. So these polls are all indicating Trump has got an edge. And even though the liberals and Biden himself hate to admit this, a new survey conducted by the New York Times, the Philadelphia Inquirer, and Siena College. Now, all those lean left. You with me? For 3 left polls that come out in favor of Trump, they've skewed it. They've tried to doctor it. They've tried to pad it. And for them to still come out and say Trump's leading, it's like puking in your mouth and trying to eat a pizza. It's just not going to taste good. Okay? In the 2-man race between Trump and Biden, Trump leads 51 to 38% among likely voters by a whopping 13 points. Okay? 51 and 38% in Nevada, 6 points in Arizona, 9 points in Georgia, and 3 points in Pennsylvania, and 1 point in Wisconsin, while Biden clings to a 1-point margin in Michigan. But there was an independent study in Michigan that believes Trump has a 2-point lead. So it all depends on where you're getting your information and etc. But with that said, when third-party candidates such as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. were included, Trump's lead scored a 9-point in Arizona, 14 in Nevada, and stayed almost the same at 8 points in Georgia. As 3/4 of likely voters in these 6 battleground states says the economy is no better than and only fair or poor, large majorities in each state trust Donald Trump to do a better job on the country's finances and well-being. Interesting, is it not? We'll be back after this break.
It's a new day in Chattanooga. This is WVMG Chattanooga, owned and licensed by Destiny Life Resources and operated by USA Heartbeat, the pulse of a nation, based in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other and build family memories
I have to admit,
we will carry with us forever. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. It's easy. Just put in your zip code to find family-friendly outdoor destinations near you. You'll also find guides to free activities, games, and amazing forest facts. Give the magic of the outdoors to your kids and reconnect with your family. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start
In a
saving for
long-awaited
retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean, and there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Turned foe, in a long-awaited moment, Donald Trump's fixer turned foe, Michael Cohen, took the witness stand at the former president's criminal trial. Cohen talked about how for a decade he lied and bullied and protected Donald Trump. He testified about how when he became aware that Stormy Daniels was shopping a story about an extramarital sexual encounter with Trump, the story being shopped just before the 2016 election, Cohen says he went to Trump, and Trump said, "This is a disaster. You need to take care of this." Cohen's testimony puts together many of the pieces that prosecutors have been laying out at this trial over the last several weeks. He is the key to the prosecution case, linking Trump to the payment to Daniels, to arrangements to suppress other damaging stories, and then, as prosecutors continue their questioning in the afternoon and later this week, to the payments that Cohen received as reimbursement for the $130,000 he laid out to pay Stormy Daniels to keep quiet.
So we've got a convicted felon who is, as you know, Michael Cohen has been convicted of being a liar, and so he's actually done prison time and he's been out, but now he's allowed to speak all he wants about Donald Trump. Trump's on a gag order, not allowed to talk about him, because the judge leans Democrat and his daughter worked on the Kamala Harris and Biden campaign. Absolutely no conflict of interest there, I'm sure. So anyway, you with all that said, you would think that the media's really got it right. Well, not so. The New York Times just released a poll saying Donald Trump is ahead in some key battleground states, and this is what Donald Trump had to say today at one of his breaks at the trial.
Here's the New York Times that just came out a little while ago, where we're leading in every state, the 5 key states, where we're leading in every state, the 5 key states, we're leading very substantially, I might add. So it's really a very sad day for the country. It's sad for New York. I mean, New York, that a judge who's highly conflicted at a level that nobody's seen before can possibly, just think of it, and you should go out and check it out. But we have a corrupt judge, and we have a judge who's highly conflicted, and he's keeping me from campaigning. He's an appointed New York judge. He's appointed. You know who appointed him? Democrat politicians. He's appointed. He's a corrupt judge, and he's a conflicted judge, and he ought to let us go out and campaign and get rid of this scam. Every single legal analyst, even CNN, even MSDNC, they're saying, there's no case here. Thank you very much.
And that's Donald Trump being forced to sit through a courtroom by a judge that just, it seems like he's trying to just keep him off the campaign trail. And Michael Cohen, I think, does not have any credibility. Folks that agree with him are just folks that are just, they hate Trump, and there's folks out there that do, and you know, that's just the way it is. Everyone can't be popular. But this is interesting. This famous CNN host, Fareed Zakaria, I can never say his name right, he just pretty much said Trump could win the election. So all this New York minutia is really backfiring. Here is CNN.
I have to admit, none of this is playing out as I thought it would. Trump is now leading in almost all the swing states.
Lip lock liberal CNN guy says it's not playing out as I thought it would. He says it almost like he had a tip that this was a plan to destroy Trump, all this media pile-on, and it's backfired. Listen again to a lip lock liberal, and if you could see his face, it would bring joy to your face like it does mine. That's why I'm smiling, those of you watching on video.
I have to admit, none of this is playing out as I thought it would. Trump is now leading in almost all the swing states, but behind those numbers lie even more troubling details. As someone worried about the prospects of a second Trump term, I think it's best to be honest about reality. I understand that polls are not always accurate, but in general, they have tended to underestimate Donald Trump's support, not overestimate it. I doubt that there are many shy Biden voters in the country.
How about that? Thank you, CNN, for maybe for the first time in a long time telling us some truth. But he even said, I love this at the very beginning. Can I replay that? This brings joy.
I have to admit, none of this is playing out as I thought it would.
It's nice to see a plan fall apart when it's especially a liberal plan. But it's obviously that they're kind of admitting that they had a plan in place and it's not playing to their advantage. And don't forget this news moment, Jerry Seinfeld getting booed at Duke.
The college campus protest saga continued at graduation ceremonies over the weekend. At Duke, it was dozens of students who walked out of the ceremony as comedian Jerry Seinfeld, who is Jewish, took center stage to deliver a commencement speech. Seinfeld posted on Instagram after the Israel-Hamas war began that he stands with Israel. Students held Free Palestine signs and Palestinian flags. You could hear people cheering and booing at the students protesting. Duke released a statement saying they respect people's right to protest peacefully. It wasn't just Duke where students interrupted graduation ceremonies with walkouts. At UC Berkeley, the student body president was interrupted by protesters.
This wouldn't be Berkeley without a protest, so I get it.
And a student at UT Austin's graduation ceremony unveiled a Palestinian flag on stage and had to be escorted out by security. Even though universities break for the summer, there are still several encampments on campuses where protesters say they're not leaving.
So that's what makes a lot of folks upset and uneasy, and because it's very obvious that they're trying to keep this going, and but the Seinfeld little thing it just goes to show some of these people have gone crazy, and it's at a point I think a lot of folks. But you got to appreciate Mayor Adams, and I'll play this little clip again of the mayor's news conference a few days ago in New York.
There is a movement to radicalize young people, and I'm not going to wait until it's done.
So he even said there's a movement to radicalize young people across the country, and he goes on to say that. Well, a new state came up with a new mandate saying if you wear a mask and an anti-Israel protester, this could land you in jail. See what you think. This is Stu Varney.
Protesters in Ohio commit a misdemeanor while wearing a mask or disguise. Well, they could face felony charges and maybe prison time. It's all due to a little-known anti-KKK law. Let's bring in Dave Yost. He is the Attorney General of the state of Ohio. So how are the students breaking this law?
Well, it's fact-dependent, of course, but if you commit any crime, including a misdemeanor like, say, trespass, with two or more people while you're wearing a mask, that is an enhancement.
An enhancement? I'm not sure I understand that.
I'm sorry, it enhances that criminal misdemeanor to a felony charge that could bring you up to 18 months in prison.
So that's just for wearing a mask, like a surgical mask. What about religious clothing? I mean, like a burqa, for example, which covers people's faces.
So for example, a hijab does not cover the face. So again, facts matter, and it would matter a little bit whether there was some reason other than concealment of identity.
So it goes on to talk about there in Ohio that when you wear a mask at these protests and you're committing crimes, so you break windows or such, and you have the mask on as if you're trying to hide your identity, they're using that as an ability to add another charge and give you another misdemeanor that would mean more time or more fine. And I think that's interesting. But this is Bill Maher, a message from Bill Maher about the anti-Israel activists. See what you think. This is a liberal now, kind of making fun of these kids.
Sincere passions about Gaza, especially among people from the region, but social justice warriors, for a lot of them it seems like it's more about the warrioring than about whatever the cause is. Are you really speaking truth to power, or do you just think you look cool in a keffiyeh? Which is really just the new Che Guevara t-shirt. Another historical figure you never researched and so think is a hero, but was actually a sadistic, racist monster fighting for communism, the worst form of government ever. But these are small matters. Small matters when activism merges with narcissism. Less about the cause and more about me Look at me. Watch me. And if you like the way I'm fighting injustice, remember to like and subscribe. Maybe from now on, before anyone commits an act of civil disobedience, they should ask themselves a few questions, like, is the most important thing in my life something I hadn't heard of 6 months ago? Do I even know what the I'm talking about? Am I really here for the cause, or is the cause here to bring you me? Why do I care so much about this particular cause? North Korea starves its people. China puts them in concentration camps. Myanmar brutalizes the Rohingya. Boko Haram kidnaps whole villages of women. Nothing? Ukraine? Maybe if these Google employees had the slightest idea what kind of fundamentalist, oppressive they're supporting, Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, they might take it a little easier on the world's greatest monster, Genocide Joe. Genocide, by the way, is when you want to wipe out an entire people. That's the stated goal of Hamas. That's what from the river to the sea means. Hamas would do that to Israel, but can't. Israel could do that to them, but doesn't.
Drinking warm water before
It's a new day in Chattanooga. This is WVMG Chattanooga, owned and licensed by Destiny Life Resources and operated by USA Heartbeat, the pulse of a nation, based in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other and build family memories we will carry with us forever. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. It's easy. Just put in your zip code to find family-friendly outdoor destinations near you. You'll also find guides to free activities, games, and amazing forest facts. Give the magic of the outdoors to your kids and reconnect with your family. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the show, my friend. This is Macil Duncan, and you're listening to 96.9 FM in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Destiny Media. You're listening live. Also, those of you online at SGM Alabama and the Freedom Network in New Jersey, USA Heartbeat USA, and the Street Level America. We're now in 32 states, the Macil Duncan Show, as well as Mexico and Canada. Thanks all that like and listen to the show. We're also on Rumble, X, True Social, Facebook, Instagram, many other social media sites. And so catch the show, like, share, tell a friend, and we appreciate all that are doing so. Well, this weekend was a special weekend, and the NOAA warning, if you will, from the government came out. And this is CBN News reporting. See what you think about what happened this weekend.
It was a celestial show in the heavens that many Americans thought they would never witness firsthand. Millions across the country were treated to a green and purple glow in the night sky this past weekend. As far south as Texas in the U.S., as well as Chile, northern China, England, and northern Europe.
It is a very exciting start to the day at Lalande because something wonderful happened in the night. We saw the northern lights over Lalande.
It was all thanks to a severe geomagnetic storm on the surface of the sun that produced a rare and powerful sequence of solar flares over several days.
A rapid fire of all these CMEs, coronal mass ejections, aimed at Earth and arriving at Earth is what drove the geomagnetic field to such an agitated state.
Basically what happens is part of the sun actually lifts off the surface, right? So this plasma, the charged particles, the magnetic field that makes up the sun, part of it actually lifts off the sun and streams away into space.
The light show also caused some minor problems with the power grid, high-frequency communications, and some GPS systems, causing the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to issue a rare geomagnetic storm warning. Elon Musk said Saturday his Starlink satellite internet service was under a lot of pressure but holding up so far. An extreme geomagnetic storm in 2003 took out power in Sweden and damaged power transformers in South Africa.
They're not built to use this current, so it becomes a problem.
But this event was about enjoying the wonder of God's handiwork, the Aurora Borealis.
So if you watched it this weekend, depending on where you're located, some saw the northern lights and gave credit to the almighty hand of God, and I think that's an interesting thing. Hope all of you guys are having a relationship with God. You know, we were having our food pantry meeting today. We're feeding 3,000 people a month. And as I met with the executive team today, and we were just thanking God about all the ways he meets needs. But as I walked in today, almost all of our shelves are empty. All our refrigerators are totally empty. And we've got 6 commercial refrigerators and 2 others that are not. And half our freezers. And you may say, are you discouraged? Well, that's about every Monday. But see, between now and Friday, people will give money and food. At least they always have been. And Friday, we're able to give out boxes of food and feed hundreds and thousands of people. And it's because of givers like you. If you would like to give online a small gift, you can go to www.appesanbaptist.com. That's appesanbaptist.com. Or if your group would like to do a food drive, we appreciate that. I appreciate last week I got to speak at Ridgedale Baptist Church to a men's, I guess a men's and ladies prayer group, and I appreciate their consideration. I'll be speaking at Stewart Heights in the near future, and also at Silverdale, a group there. So we appreciate the area churches that are sponsoring and helping the Macil Duncan message, if you will, for our Appesan Food Pantry. I also appreciate those of you that give around the country, and you're very much appreciated. Have you ever heard of the term Promise Keepers? I think a lot of folks remember this from back in the 90s, and Promise Keepers is kind of making a comeback. See what you think.
Promise Keepers, men of integrity, keeping their promises to Christ, their families, and to one another. Coach Bill McCartney founded the ministry 34 years ago. Today, a new generation of young men are facing new challenges in these troubling times, but many of the solutions remain the same. Well, joining us is the new CEO of Promise Keepers, Shane Winnings. Shane is the founder of Overcomers and a veteran of U.S. Army Special Forces who served one tour of duty in Afghanistan. He's author of the book, Your Next Leap of Faith. Shane, it's good to have you with us. So a new generation of leadership now at Promise Keepers, but with many of the same solutions to the problems facing young Christian men and seekers of Jesus today. So what do us baby boomers need to understand about the challenges facing younger believers today? How do their challenges differ from those that we experienced?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. In this generation, we have access to things in an instant that, your generation did not. Looking at smartphones, how kids can be on the internet and be exposed to all different kinds of things, good and bad, at the ease of just unlocking their parents' phone or their own phone in many cases. I even remember when I was growing up, I didn't get a cell phone until I was a senior in high school, and we definitely didn't have the capability of these smartphones today. And so what we're seeing is a generation of people who are being shaped and molded by the world because of the things they see on social media.
Well, many older Americans see young people joining pro-Hamas protests on college campuses, getting their information on Instagram or TikTok, and then they wonder, how do we reach these young people? How do we help young men become courageous, to be men of integrity, especially if they haven't been taught that respect, integrity at home?
Yeah, we need to be the voice of that movement, of the movement of integrity and purity and godly truth, and also be the example. Kids are looking for someone to model. They're looking for someone to look up to. And so you see these worldly examples of people who are rising up, and they demonstrate worldly masculinity, which is perverted in many senses, which is more about dominion, and it's less about godly characteristics. And so when it comes to masculinity, when it comes to Hamas, when it comes to any political things, it really shouldn't surprise us that the generation who's in college right now, they're just taking to whatever they hear, whatever's popular. These fringe type examples are the ones that they latch onto in many of the issues of the day, whether it's, the right to life in the womb or, the LGBTQ movement. We're seeing a generation latch on to what used to be the 1% or less stance, and they're now trying to, become a majority. And you see that with these interviews of kids on college campuses. They don't actually know what they're even protesting about. They don't know what they stand for. And when they're confronted with facts and with truth, they pridefully, rebuttal against it, even though they have no solid argument to stand on in the first place.
Very good points. That's the new leader of Promise Keepers. Now, Promise Keepers was big back in the 90s, and I remember these 7 promises. If you guys ever had the flashcards, but the 7 promises of a Promise Keeper. Number 1, a Promise Keeper is committed to honor Jesus Christ through worship, prayer, and obedience to God's Word and the power of the Holy Spirit. The number 2 of a Promise Keeper is committed to pursue vital relationships with a few other men, understanding that needs to have brotherhood to keep his promises. Number 3, a Promise Keeper is committed to practice spiritual, moral, ethical, and sexual purity. Number 4, a Promise Keeper is committed to build strong marriages and families through love, protection, and biblical values. The number 5 Promise Keeper is committed to support the missions of his church and honoring through prayer of his and praying for his pastor, and by actively giving of his time and resources. Number 6 of the Promise Keeper Code was committed to reach beyond any racial and denominational barriers to demonstrate the power of biblical unity. And the last, number 7 of the Promise Keepers, is committed to influence his world being obedient to a great commandment and a great commission. So the 7 promises of a Promise Keeper, Kevin McCarthy, the coach of Colorado at the time, led this movement, and it reached millions of men. And I remember going to those and hearing preachers such as Dr. Tony Evans. This is a 1-minute clip at one of the Promise Keeper events. Does anyone remember Dr. Tony Evans?
And that's what this weekend is all about. This weekend is to give you, here it is, your divine reason for being. Because there is an enemy out there who is ripping out your heart and seeking to rip out my heart from our divine reason for being here. You were left here to do more than get a job. You were left here to do more than get an education. You were left here to do more than raise a family. You were left here to do more than buy a house. You were left here to do more than make money. There has got to be a reason for my being here that transcends time and space. And that's why we call this weekend the Awakening. Because we want to see men awaken to your divine reason for being here. And we want to see Satan no longer ripping men off, offering them lesser things that have nothing to do with things that really matter. So what we are about is to see men awaken to their divine reason for being here, to your eternal perspective.
I'll be back.
It's a new day in Chattanooga. This is WVMG Chattanooga, owned and licensed by Destiny Life Resources and operated by USA Heartbeat, the pulse of a nation, based in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other and build family memories we will carry with us forever. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. It's easy. Just put in your zip code to find family-friendly outdoor destinations near you. You'll also find guides to free activities, games, and amazing forest facts. Give the magic of the outdoors to your kids and reconnect with your family. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean. And there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
This is the Patriot Pastor, Macil Duncan, and welcome back to the show. Hope you guys are having a great day. And as we look at some of the news that's happening here, Kansas governor vetoes bill to grant child safety support for fetuses. This is an interesting bill that you got to wonder where Democrats are coming from in defeating this. But Kansas Governor Laura Kelly, she's a Democrat, vetoed a legislation that would have extended child support to fetuses. Now, can you imagine if you're a single mother, you found yourself pregnant, and you're not married, and you need help? Well, this bill would have allowed you to ask for the father of the child to split expenses with you, hospital bills, etc. But the Democrats found this to be this is what the governor said, a blatant attempt by extreme politicians to legislate to take moral control over women and their families, their personal, private, and medical decisions. All this empowered the mother to say, hey, I'm carrying a child, I need help financially, basically, and would pretty much ask or demand that the husband, or not the husband, excuse me, the father, the biological father, help with the finances. I've got 3 daughters. Heaven forbid, I'm grateful all 3 are now married, but if one came home pregnant, I told my girls all the time, listen, there's nothing you can do that will keep me from loving you. And no matter anything you do, good or bad, just know you can always tell me, and I will never, ever stop loving you or support you. And even if it's a decision or something I don't agree with. I wanted my girls to know if anything happened. And in one of our discussions, one of the girls said, what if we come home pregnant? I said, if you come home pregnant, you'll have a place here. I will be your father through thick and thin. And not all kids have that. Some kids, if they find themselves pregnant or in a bad situation, sometimes they don't have a refuge. They don't have a place. And or maybe the home that they grew up in isn't a safe home. Maybe that's why they found themselves in the arms of someone else that promised them all kind of good things and then abandons them in their moment of need. So this is an interesting bill that the Kansas governor vetoed, and I think it's such a shame. You can read more about it at the Gateway Pundit. Well, shocking, San Francisco woman convicted of shoplifting. She was over $60,000 worth of items and over 120 visits to Target alone. This lady was finally, and in San Francisco of all places, this is what shocked a few folks. It's described as a modern-day miracle in the press because you don't get arrested anymore for shoplifting in these big cities. That's why Walmart has closed 400 stores across the country, primarily in big cities and blue states, because they will not prosecute people that shoplift. And so it's an interesting thing. And so this lady had so much violations against her, they finally had to prosecute, but they actually put a tracking cam. She would go to the checkout and pretend that she put $1 or something like she had paid for her items, which, she would have, tons of items, and she would just put $1 in and then pretend that she'd bag it and then walk out. Well, they tracked her because, the computers alerted that she was leaving without paying the full amounts or if anything at all. She was going down to local areas and reselling the items or panhandling on the side of the road. And so, anyway, she was convicted. And the interesting thing, in the case, the People versus Mrs. Graves had entered Target located at the Stonewall Galleria on dozens of occasions between the dates of October 3rd, 2020 and November 16, 2021, and repeatedly stole merchandise with a total value to exceed $60,000 from Target alone. She also went to Abercrombie & Fitch and many other stores in the area. And anyway, she was found guilty. And interesting. So shoplifting, once again, is now a crime, at least, I guess, if you steal $60,000 worth. Renowned attorney John Eastman delivers blistering speech on illegitimate 2020 presidential election. John describes complete breakdown of the election process like no other. This is more evidence that's come out from the 2020 election. This is a scholar, John Eastman. He traveled to Michigan on Friday. Attorney Eastman delivered a powerful speech on lawfare, and what he is trying to promote my fair elections, and he's trying to go to these swing states and encourage, especially folks with a conscience or a mind, to be mindful, because if you have the ability, some folks have the ability to keep things fair. Some folks have an ability to put their finger on the scale and make things not so good. And so, and we reported about the lady in Wisconsin who's now finally admitted that she doesn't understand the law, and all these attempts since 2020 to get her to admit this it's finally a victory, if you want to call it that. She's saying that she thought she was doing the right thing, but when they blatantly showed her the illegal ballots and the illegal transactions, her plea now is, I didn't understand the law. So we'll see how that case develops as well. But there's just a lot going on. I think a lot of people are shocked, but CNN, my goodness gracious, CNN freaks out over latest poll numbers showing President Trump leading 5 of 6 swing states. Like I said, CNN is freaking out, and it's in full panic mode as they're seeing that Trump is leading the battleground states. President Trump is leading Arizona by 6 points, Georgia by 9, Nevada by 13 points, Pennsylvania by 3, Wisconsin by 1, and Biden is only up not quite a full point in Michigan. So this race is not what they were expecting, and here is CNN's own lip-lock liberal. See what you think, what he has to say.
I have to admit, none of this is playing out as I thought it would. Trump is now leading in almost all the swing states, but behind those numbers lie even more troubling details. As someone worried about the prospects of a second Trump term, I think it's best to be honest about reality. I understand that polls are not always accurate, but in general, they have tended to underestimate Donald Trump's support, not overestimate it. I doubt that there are many shy Biden voters in the country.
So many folks are seeing that these sham trials that they're doing is not only helping Donald Trump, it's blowing up. He's raising more money, he's raising more awareness, and even liberal commentators like Stephen A. Smith from ESPN pretty much is blasting the Democrat Party and the liberals.
My liberal friends out there, all you're doing is showing that you're scared you can't beat them on the issues and the merits. That's why he keeps saying it's a political campaign against me. That's why he keeps saying they can't beat me at the election, at the polls. This is the only way they could do it. And if you don't put him in jail, and he still goes from being the presumptive GOP nominee to the official GOP nominee, and he goes to the polls, even though he was going to whine about winning and being rigged again, you have given more fodder to that argument, which means we'll never have peace in this country, because tens of millions of people see what extent the other side is willing to go through just to keep him out of office, because they can't beat him on their own merits. And they're going to say, hey, you trumped this up against him again, and we'll have no peace, when all you got to do is figure out a way to beat him on the issues. But you haven't been able to do it.
Well, thank you, Stephen A. Smith. I couldn't say it better myself, and I love the little background music. But that's true. They can't beat Trump a mano a mano on the issues, and it's pretty obvious. I think the people are more than aware of this, and you see that there's a lot of people trying to say, hey, I can do this or that.
The world's first titanium nonstick pan.
This is, for instance, Biden being interviewed about the economy, and he kind of lied and said, oh, the economy's fine.
No president's had the run we've had in terms of creating jobs and
bringing down inflation. It was 9% when I came to office. 9%.
Biden claims inflation was 9% when he came into office, when it actually was 1.4. He lied.
It was 9% when I came to office.
You lie! Stop lying!
And that's the case. I think a lot of folks just wish he would tell the freaking truth. But I don't think it's in his DNA to do that. Well, this is Macil Duncan on the Macil Duncan Show here on the 96.9 FM Destiny Media, USA Heartbeat, Street Level America, and the Macil Duncan Radio broadcast that's got me on Rumble, X, Facebook, Truth Social, Locals.com, and many others. So I appreciate all that like and share the show. We'll be back after these messages with the the Destiny Media Network.
It's a new day in Chattanooga. This is WVMG Chattanooga, owned and licensed by Destiny Life Resources and operated by USA Heartbeat, the pulse of a nation, based in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
Hey, you got this. Just breathe. Hey, we're pretty good.
yeah,
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other and build family memories we will carry with us forever. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. It's easy. Just put in your zip code to find family-friendly outdoor destinations near you. You'll also find guides to free activities, games, and amazing forest facts. Give the magic of the outdoors to your kids and reconnect with your family.